September 27th, a day filled with moments that reshaped the course of history. But how did the deciphering of strange symbols on an ancient stone unlock the secrets of an entire civilization? How did the launch of a simple car forever transform the modern world? And which decision on this day shaped the destiny of entire nations? Today, we uncover powerful stories of conquests, revolutions, scientific breakthroughs, and cultural milestones, each one leaving its mark on humanity. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you never miss a step in our journey through time. September 27th, 1066, on this day, William, Duke of Normandy, set sail with his fleet from the mouth of the Somme River. He wasn't just crossing the English Channel, he was launching one of the most significant invasions in medieval history. Known later as William the Conqueror, his mission was clear: to claim the English throne, which he believed was rightfully his after the death of King Edward the Confessor. The fleet carried thousands of Norman knights, soldiers, and horses, braving unpredictable winds and rough waters. Their destination, the English coast, where the fate of a kingdom would soon be decided. Just weeks later, William would meet the forces of Harold Godwinson at the Battle of Hastings. That single clash would determine the ruler of England, but the consequences went far beyond a change of kings. The Norman conquest transformed English society itself. Castles rose across the countryside, built in stone as symbols of Norman power. The English language absorbed hundreds of French and Latin words, reshaping the way people spoke and wrote. Laws, land ownership, and even the cultural identity of England were forever altered. What began with sails rising on the horizon of the Somme River became a turning point that defined the nation for centuries to come. On September 27, 1540, Pope Paul III issued a papal bull that officially recognized the Society of Jesus, better known as the Jesuit order. Founded by Ignatius of Loyola, a former soldier turned spiritual leader, the Jesuits quickly became one of the most influential religious orders in history. But their role went far beyond prayer and worship. The Jesuits became the intellectual shock troops of the Catholic Church during the Counter-Reformation, at a time when Protestant movements were spreading rapidly across Europe. The Jesuits defended Catholic doctrine with discipline, education, and missionary zeal. They founded schools, universities, and seminaries across the world, institutions that shaped generations of thinkers, rulers, and scientists. Their emphasis on rigorous study meant that Jesuit schools often became centers of excellence, producing scholars who contributed not only to theology but also to fields like astronomy, mathematics, and linguistics. The Jesuit missionaries carried their message far from Europe, traveling to Asia, Africa, and the Americas. Figures like Francis Xavier spread Christianity in India and Japan, while Matteo Ricci introduced Western science and culture to China, bridging civilizations. Of course, their power also made them controversial. They were praised for their intellect and devotion, yet criticized for their political influence and their role in colonial expansion. Still, the Jesuit legacy remains undeniable. From shaping global education to influencing the course of world history, the order founded on this day in 1540 continues to leave its mark nearly 5 centuries later. On September 27, 1821, the streets of Mexico City erupted in celebration. After more than a decade of bloody conflict, the Mexican War of Independence had reached its end. Rebel forces, led by Agustin de Iturbide, marched triumphantly into the capital as the last Spanish troops withdrew. For ordinary citizens, it was a moment of liberation and relief, an end to years of hardship, sacrifice, and uncertainty. This war had begun in 1810, sparked by Father Miguel Hidalgo's famous cry for freedom, El Grito de Dolores. Over the years, countless men and women, farmers, priests, intellectuals, and soldiers had taken up the cause, facing brutal repression and devastating losses, yet the spirit of independence never died. By 1821, the tide had turned. A coalition known as the Army of the Three Guarantees, uniting royalist defectors with independence fighters, secured victory. Their 3 principles were independence, Catholic unity, and equality for all Mexicans. With their entry into Mexico City, the dream of self-rule became reality. The Spanish crown's centuries-long rule over New Spain was over, and Mexico was born as a sovereign nation. But independence was not the end of struggle, it was the beginning of a long journey toward building a stable and just republic. Still, September 27, 1821, stands as a defining moment when a new nation stepped onto the stage of history. In 1822, a breakthrough unlocked the silent voices of the ancient world. French scholar Jean-François Champollion stood before the Rosetta Stone, a mysterious slab of black granite carved with three scripts: ancient Greek, Demotic, and Egyptian hieroglyphs. For centuries, hieroglyphs had been an enigma, a script no one could read, leaving thousands of years of Egyptian history in silence. Champollion, a brilliant linguist obsessed with cracking the code, devoted years to the task. He compared the Greek text, which scholars could already understand, with the unknown Egyptian symbols. Slowly, he began to see patterns. By linking names of pharaohs like Ptolemy and Cleopatra, written in cartouches, he unlocked the phonetic values of hieroglyphic signs. On September 27, 1822, he announced his discovery. Hieroglyphs were not just pictures, but a complex system of phonetics and symbols. With this revelation, the ancient voices of Egypt, its kings, its prayers, its history, came alive once more. This single achievement opened the door to modern Egyptology. For the first time, scholars could truly read the walls of temples, the tombs of pharaohs, and the papyrus scrolls buried for millennia. Champollion's work transformed our understanding of one of the world's oldest civilizations, proving that persistence and curiosity could bridge the gap of thousands of years. In 1908, something rolled out of Detroit that would change the world forever: the Ford Model T. Until then, automobiles were seen as luxuries for the wealthy, hand-built, and far too expensive for the average person. But Henry Ford had a vision: a car for everyday people, not just the elite. The Model T was rugged, simple, and affordable. It could handle America's rough dirt roads, it was easy to repair, and it gave families freedom like never before. Suddenly, ordinary workers, farmers, and shopkeepers could dream of owning a car. But the real revolution wasn't just the car itself, it was how it was built. Ford introduced the moving assembly line, a groundbreaking method that allowed cars to be mass-produced quickly and cheaply. What once took over 12 hours to build could now be completed in just 90 minutes. This slashed costs, lowered prices, and put millions of Model Ts on the road. By doing this, Ford didn't just transform transportation, he reshaped society. Towns expanded, suburbs grew, and industries like steel, oil, and rubber exploded in demand. The world shrank as people could now travel farther, faster, and more freely than ever before. The Model T wasn't just a car. It was a symbol of innovation, mobility, and the birth of modern consumer culture. And it all began in 1908, with a vision that put the world on wheels. On September 27, 1940, the world edged closer to global conflict with the signing of the Tripartite Pact between Germany, Italy, and Japan. This agreement formally created the Axis powers, uniting the three nations in military and political alliance during World War II. The pact wasn't just a piece of paper, it was a signal to the rest of the world. Germany dominated Europe, Japan had ambitions in Asia, and Italy sought to expand its influence across the Mediterranean. Together, these powers challenged the balance of nations and escalated tensions worldwide. For the Allies, this pact meant the war was no longer localized, it was truly global. It forced countries like the United States to reassess their position. While smaller nations faced impossible choices: resist, comply, or be swept into the storm. The signing of the Tripartite Pact reshaped alliances, influenced strategies, and intensified the scale of World War II. It was a moment that underlined how diplomacy, ambition, and ideology could come together to change the course of history, and how a single agreement could echo through the world with deadly consequences. September 27, 1954, marked a turning point in entertainment history. The Tonight Show premiered on national television in the United States. Hosted by Steve Allen, this late-night program wasn't just a show, it was a revolution in how Americans experienced comedy. Interviews, and live performances from the comfort of their living rooms. Think about it. Before this, entertainment was local, limited to radio or theater. Suddenly, millions of viewers could share the same laughter, the same stories, the same moments, in real time. The Tonight Show set the standard for talk shows for decades, influencing icons from Johnny Carson to modern hosts like Jimmy Fallon and Stephen Colbert. It was more than entertainment, it shaped American culture. comedy, and even politics, providing a platform where ideas and humor could connect people across the nation. From quirky sketches to serious interviews, The Tonight Show became a mirror of the times, capturing the spirit of an evolving country. Its legacy endures, reminding us how television can define an era. September 27, 1962, marked a turning point for the environment. On this day, Rachel Carson published her groundbreaking book, Silent Spring, exposing the dangers of pesticides and chemical pollutants. Her words were more than warnings, they were a call to action. Imagine a world where the songs of birds were fading, rivers were poisoned, and the connection between human activity and nature was largely ignored. Carson's meticulous research and compelling storytelling revealed how widespread pesticide use, especially DDT, was harming wildlife and threatening human health. Silent Spring ignited the modern environmental movement, inspiring policy changes, grassroots activism, and eventually the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency in the U.S. It challenged industries, governments, and individuals to reconsider their impact on the planet. Carson didn't just write a book, she sparked a global awakening, proving that one voice, armed with truth and courage, could change the course of history for the planet. On September 27, 1996, the Taliban captured Kabul, Afghanistan's capital, marking a dramatic shift in the country's history. After years of civil war following the Soviet withdrawal, Afghanistan was fragmented and struggling for stability. The Taliban, a radical Islamist group, seized control with strict interpretations of Sharia law, enforcing harsh rules on daily life, particularly for women and minorities. Streets that once bustled with a mix of cultures and traditions were transformed by a regime that demanded conformity, obedience, and fear. This takeover didn't just reshape politics, it had profound human consequences. Education, art, and personal freedoms were severely restricted, and international attention began to focus on the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Afghanistan. The events of this day set the stage for decades of conflict, foreign interventions, and debates about human rights, extremism, and global security. It stands as a sobering reminder of how rapidly power can shift and the deep impact leadership changes can have on a nation and its people. On September 27, 1998, the tech world quietly witnessed the birth of what would become one of the most influential companies in history, Google. While the search engine had already been developed by Larry Page and Sergey Brin, this date is considered its official birthday. Imagine the world before Google information scattered across books, libraries, and nascent websites, often hard to find. Google changed that, creating a way to instantly search, sort, and access the vast digital universe. It wasn't just a new tool, it was a revolution in knowledge, learning, and connectivity. From humble beginnings in a garage, Google quickly grew into a global powerhouse, shaping how billions of people work, communicate, and interact with the internet every single day. September 27th reminds us how a simple idea, backed by curiosity and innovation, can transform the world completely. On September 27, 2008, history was made in the skies above Earth. Chinese astronaut Zhai Gagang stepped outside the Shenzhou 7 spacecraft, completing China's very first spacewalk. Picture it, floating hundreds of kilometers above the planet, tethered to the spacecraft, with nothing but the vast darkness of space and the glowing curve of Earth below. It was a moment of national pride, scientific achievement, and a demonstration of human courage and ingenuity. This spacewalk wasn't just a technical milestone, it signaled China's arrival as a major player in space exploration, inspiring a new generation of scientists, engineers, and dreamers. Every move Zhai made symbolized years of preparation, rigorous training, and an ambitious vision to reach beyond our world. So, from medieval conquests to groundbreaking discoveries, from revolutionary movements to daring spacewalks, September 27th is packed with events that shaped history. Which story surprised or inspired you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you love exploring the hidden stories behind each day in history, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an epic journey through time.